Welcome back to Views with Hughes, Agenda-Free News. This is Jerome Hughes, and let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, once again, we're going to talk about something that stirred up a lot of conversations recently. The Star Wars project, The Acolyte, that was highly anticipated but failed to live up to the hype. Yes, I'm talking about that Leslye Headland fanfiction, Star Wars The Acolyte, okay? Which is Disney's latest venture into the Star Wars universe, unfortunately. Now, let's start at the beginning. When Leslye Headland fanfiction Star Wars The Acolyte was first announced, it was actually touted as something fresh, something that would bring new perspective to the Star Wars saga, when in reality it didn't. It was said to dive deep into the darker side of the Force, exploring the period before the rise of the Empire. But for many fans, this sounded intriguing. After all, Star Wars usually had a rich history and lore that, when handled well, can make for compelling storytelling. But there's a catch, and people expect quality. They expect authenticity, and most importantly, they expect the essence of what makes Star Wars great to be preserved. But unfortunately, the Leslye Headland fanfiction Star Wars The Acolyte missed the mark on all these fronts with this woke ideology. Then there was also the expectations versus reality. When Leslye Headland fanfiction Star Wars The Acolyte first premiered, Disney pushed it hard. The marketing was everywhere, from social media to the campaigns to promotions on Disney Plus. And there was an expectation that Leslye Headland fanfiction, from some people, Star Wars The Acolyte would be a massive hit, capturing the imagination of both diehard Star Wars fans and newcomers alike. But what happened? We all know what happened. The numbers spoke for themselves. Now, we'll take a look at the Nielsen ratings itself, which are the industry standard for measuring viewership. We actually see a troubling trend, a big trend. And after the season finale of the Leslye Headland's fanfiction, Star Wars The Acolyte aired, something rather telling occurred, where it vanished from the Nielsen charts. And for the season finale, it went back up there, but on the lower spot. But for those who are unfamiliar, the Nielsen charts track the most watched shows across streaming platforms. So for Leslye Headland fanfiction Star Wars The Acolyte to drop off the radar so quickly, it's a clear indicator that viewers weren't even engaged. And the initial reaction from some was that the fans were waiting to binge watch The Acolyte. And this has been a common practice with other shows, where viewers will wait until all episodes are available before diving in. But in this case, that theory didn't even hold water. You see, the lack of sustained viewership suggests that people just simply weren't interested in what Leslye Headland, as well as her fanfiction of Star Wars The Acolyte, was offering. Okay, but let's examine Disney's response to all of this. And see, it wasn't long before Disney made the decision to go ahead and cancel Leslye Headland fanfiction Star Wars The Acolyte, and for many, this wasn't surprising at all. You see, the viewership was abysmal, and the fan response was even worse. And it was worth noting that that Leslye Headland fanfiction Star Wars The Acolyte earned the lowest ratings of any Star Wars show on Disney Plus. Let me emphasize that the lowest ratings, and to make matters even more concerning for Disney, the season finale was the least watched Star Wars finale in Disney Plus history. And this is significant because season finales usually draw the highest viewership numbers, as fans tune in to see, how the particular story concludes. And the fact that, Leslye Headland fanfiction Star Wars The Acolyte couldn't even maintain interest to the end is a huge red flag right there. But there's actually more to this. You see, there's more to the story than just the ratings. We also need to consider the financial implications. The Leslye Headland fanfiction Star Wars The Acolyte was one of the most expensive shows on Disney Plus, and the production costs were astronomical. $180 million to $200 million being poured into special effects, sets, and talent, or the lack thereof. And Disney clearly betting on Leslye Headland fanfiction Star Wars The Acolyte, expecting a huge return on investment. But instead of a blockbuster hit, what they got was a financial drain. Now, the show, The Acolyte, couldn't even break into the top tier ratings, which means that The Acolyte didn't even track the level of viewership needed to justify its cost. And this is a significant loss for Disney, both financially and in terms of brand reputation. But we're going to also share focus onto the fan response. You see, one of the most telling indicators of how a show is received by this audience is the Rotten Tomatoes audience score, or as they now call it, the popcorn meter. Okay, and Leslye Headland fanfiction Star Wars The Acolyte received an abysmal 15 to 18% audience score. To put that in perspective, this is one of the lowest scores for a major franchise release in recent memory, even in the Star Wars universe. And this isn't just a handful of disgruntled viewers. Nah, this score reflects the opinions of a large portion of the audience. And this is also why they're getting rid of it, or trying to get rid of the audience score. But it's also a resounding rejection of what Leslye Headland fanfiction Star Wars The Acolyte was trying to do. Fans are clearly unhappy with the direction the show took, and they made their voices heard. All right, and they were saying that basically it's not the Star Wars that we all know and love. Okay, and honestly, can you even blame them? But we're going to also talk about the specifics about the Nielsen ratings. Now, if we look at the week of, July 22nd to 28th, right after the season finale of Leslye Headland fanfiction Star Wars The Acolyte aired, the picture becomes even clearer. At the very bottom of that list, we see Netflix's Bridgerton with 341 million minutes watched, and that's the lowest number that made the chart. But Leslye Headland fanfiction Star Wars The Acolyte didn't even reach that threshold, and the season finale came in at 335 million minutes watched. Not only did it fail to make the charts, but some episodes fell below 298 million minutes, and 4 episodes didn't even qualify for the Nielsen charts. Now, this is practically unheard of for a Star Wars series, which usually commands a significant share of viewers. And people in the comment section in previous videos on The Acolyte that I talked about and reported on stated that wait until the season is finished and stuff, because you never know what will happen. But guess what? They proved me right. This show sucks, okay? And I want to also point out something interesting, and I came across this recently. Now, there's a dedicated fan on Reddit who took time to compile some charts comparing Leslye Headland fanfiction Star Wars The Acolyte's performance to other shows on Disney Plus. I wish I had a graph with me right now, but I forgot to go ahead and add it. But to say the least, eye-opening, and it's even Endo, which had its own challenges, managed to outperform Leslye Headland fanfiction Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland, of course, by a wide margin. And this comparison is important because it highlights just how poorly Leslye Headland fanfiction The Acolyte performed relative to other shows in the same franchise. Okay, so what are we to make of all of this? Well, the takeaway is actually quite simple. You see, Leslye Headland fanfiction, The Star Wars The Acolyte, wasn't a good show. It failed on multiple levels: storytelling, engagement, viewership, and even fan satisfaction. It didn't even capture the essence of what makes Star Wars so beloved, but instead, it felt like a departure from the core principles that made the Star Wars saga a cultural touchstone for generations. And it was an expensive misstep, but fans saw right through it. The fans spoke with their low viewership, or rather their lack of it. And then Disney was left with no choice but to cancel the Leslye Headland fanfiction Star Wars The Acolyte. Now, this was a move that many of us saw coming from a mile away, right from the beginning, okay? But other than that, the situation serves as another cautionary tale for Disney and the other content creators. You just can't slap Star Wars on anything and expect it to be a hit. Fans demand quality, authenticity, and respect for the legacy of the franchise. Now, when those elements are missing, no amount of marketing or special effects can actually save the project itself. So, yeah, there you have it. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional thoughts you might have in this particular topic. If you enjoy what I shared in this video, go ahead and smash the like button and share far and wide across social media. And if you haven't done so already and you enjoyed all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification so that way you're notified of future uploads and updates. Till then, peace.